This is Colorado TechCast with Trapper Little, episode number 29. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on this episode of Colorado TechCast. Colorado TechCast is a weekly podcast where I interview CEOs and founders of Colorado-based technology startups. Join me each episode as I explore the Colorado technology community from the inside out.
Kristen Stiles is co-founder and CEO of Sitter. Sitter is revolutionizing the care industry by giving care companies big and small the technology needed to compete in today's world. Sitter was born out of Kristen's personal interest in removing the dread of booking babysitters for her family. She now taps her 20 years of experience in business consulting and technology development to streamline the caregiving process for business owners and families alike. Previously, she held a variety of technology management and business strategy positions at Hewlett-Packard, Convergys, and Vail Resorts.
Kristen, thanks for joining me on Colorado TechCast today.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
So, first of all, tell me about Sitter and then tell me the inspiration for it.
Sure. So Sitter we're just trying to make it simple for parents to get babysitters. So the inspiration came out of my own need because I have 2 kids and getting a babysitter was insane. I'd text one sitter and I'd wait. And I text the next, and I wait some more. And my background is in technology and business process, so having a process like that to get a babysitter was driving me crazy. I could get product from one side of the world to the other faster than I could get the teenage babysitter to come down the street. So that was not going to happen anymore. So I talked to my co-founder, Matt. We've worked together for a really long time, and we came up with an app to book and pay your own babysitters. But that evolved, and late last year we had nanny agencies come to us and want to use our technology. And they wanted to allow clients to book and pay their caregivers. So now we not only allow parents to book and pay their babysitters quickly, but we also enable business owners to run their care businesses more efficiently and effectively, so parents can find professional caregivers through agencies quickly and efficiently as well.
So it sounds like it started off like an Uber for a babysitter, but it's quickly evolved from there, right?
Yep. It started as an Uber for babysitters if you knew your babysitters, if you knew the drivers. So it was a closed network app, and it still is, where you can book and pay your own babysitters and connect with friends to find new sitters that you could trust through them.
So by closed network, can you invite additional babysitters in, or how do you go about kind of building out your network?
Yep. So you can add any babysitter that you know and use. They don't even need the app, and then you connect with friends. So 90% of parents find their babysitters through recommendations from friends. It happens at the playground all the time. So what our app enables you to do is connect with a friend. So if I have 3 sitters and you have 3 sitters, then together you have 6 sitters. And you build your network that way. The more sitters that you have, the faster and more reliable it is to get a babysitter you trust. However, there's lots of instances in which parents don't have babysitters and they don't have friends. Maybe they're new to a community or they're new parents and their friends don't have babysitters. So in that, you can find professional caregivers that these agencies have vetted and run through the ringer to make sure that they're the best in the industry. So you also have that option as well now.
So I can personally attest to how frustrating and how difficult it can be trying to find a babysitter on the last moment. Whether they've gone off to college or they got a new boyfriend or they're, studying for finals. So I can see how a service like this could be extremely useful to busy parents who just need the flexibility to quickly find a trusted babysitter that's been vetted, that their friends have used, or that an agency has approved.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You don't realize how much babysitting impacts your life as a parent until you think of how it impacts your marriage, it impacts your work, it impacts your well-being. Just having a reliable group of babysitters is extremely helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So what year did you found Sitter?
So Sitter launched in 2015. I had the idea a long time before that, but I had my own business as a consultant and 2 little kids. So it took me a while to start it up, but we launched into the App Store in May 2015.
Did you guys take on funding to build this, or did you go through an accelerator? Did you bootstrap it? How did you fund it?
So we took on a very small amount of funding just to test the concept. And then when that was successful, we took on a little more to see if we could grow it. And we were able to grow it with some additional funding. And then when it looked like, this was a solution that thousands of parents across the country could really use and benefit from, we went out for a seed round, and we closed that round at the beginning of last year.
Was it a local investor or local VC, or did you look at the national scale?
So, yes, so we talked to VCs on the coasts, but I am a 5th-generation Coloradoan, and I believe strongly in the Colorado tech community. So our last round was purely from Colorado angels, Colorado VCs, or regional VCs.
So when you sought out VC money and you decided that you were going to look locally, what selection criteria did you use to select your VC?
The most important thing to me when selecting investors is that we're aligned on the vision for Sitter. So I am extremely open and transparent entrepreneur, and so I give the good, the bad, and the ugly when I'm with an investor, and meeting them for the first time and talking to them about it. But if we have good rapport, if I trust the investor and we are aligned on the vision together, then those are all really good signs for me when looking at them. Because investors, when you bring them in, they're part of the family. They're part of the Sitter family, and they also represent your company as well out there in the world. So you really want to make sure that you get along with them and that you like them personally as human beings.
I'm sure their presence in the community aided in your decision, right? So with venture capital money, you're not just taking on money, but in return, you're also getting like connections and introductions and mentoring too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep, and that's a huge value add to taking on investment, is tying into that network.
So what was the first non-founder hire that you brought on to Sitter?
So we brought on another developer that we had worked with for several years, and he was amazing. So he helped out building our Android app with us.
So the technology development, have you guys done it internally, or have you outsourced it to app dev agencies, or how's that come together?
No, so I am very picky about our technology. I started as a developer myself at Hewlett-Packard like 20 years ago. So I'm extremely picky about the technology. So we have been a very product-focused company, so all of our technology is in-house.
It just kind of gives you tighter control over the development and the quality output as well.
It does, yeah. My co-founder, Matt, who's my CTO, we've been working together for over 10 years, and he was the best technologist I've ever worked with out of the hundreds around the world that I've worked with over my career. And so I wasn't going to do Sitter without working with Matt.
So take me back to the early days, like when you said, all right, I'm going to start babysitting or Uber for babysitters. What led you to that decision of, all right, now is the time, and how did you go about building the company from there on?
Well, so it was, I missed the meeting. I had to skip a meeting because I couldn't take my son to daycare because he was sick with 102-degree fever, and I was trying to, it was a huge meeting at Vail Resorts that I was supposed to go to, and I was frantically calling babysitters, and people weren't responding because, they were either going to school or, they didn't get the text or what have you. And so I had to call and reschedule the meeting because I couldn't get in, and it wasn't one that I could effectively do remotely. And that was a big problem in my career. So just for me personally, I don't like to let down a team or screw up like that. So I was like, that's it. Like, I can't keep doing this. And it's not just me, it's all of the working parents out there whose careers are affected by not being able to get the babysitters they trust. So I talked to Matt, and we just said we've got to solve this problem because there's nothing out there that's helping us today. And it was a huge leap, but my husband kind of pushed me to, just go do it. You got to do this for not just us, but for all the parents out there.
So a lot of companies offer it through their employee support program or whatever, where they'll put you in contact with an agency that will dispatch a babysitter. And we've tried to use that on a number of occasions. And we've gotten calls back, a couple of days later saying that the sitter is finally available. But it doesn't really work like that when you're trying to get your son taken care of and try to get to a meeting at the same time. That instant response is kind of the whole point of the service. So yeah, I can definitely see how this product fits a gap in the existing marketplace.
Yep, and when you're working through a corporation and they're working with agencies, the agencies haven't had the kind of technology that they need to be able to do that quickly. They're doing the same thing that parents do. They're calling their incredible list of babysitters, but they're still calling and texting and emailing because the industry is so underserved from a technology standpoint. So that's what Sitter is trying to do, is trying to also make these agencies have the technology so that they can be instantaneous and they can get you that babysitter exactly when you need it. Because our average response time is less than 4 minutes, so where it used to be hours.
That is really remarkable. So over the course of building this the last 3 years, tell me some of the struggles that you've encountered, both from the technology side of things as well as just operational, trying to launch this business.
Yeah, you're starting a business. There's always lots of struggles. It's really hard, right? I think from a technology side, it's constantly staying on top of the latest technologies, ahead of potential competitors, ahead of potential people who want to misuse your technology. You just have to be vigilant, and it's been a constant, struggle just trying to stay ahead of everything.
Mobile devices are incredibly pervasive now, but I think that's where the compute power will continue to grow. Are you guys entirely web-based or entirely mobile-based, or do you have a web presence? And if so, how did you make the decision to go one way or both?
So we are, right now, we are purely an Apple and an Android app. With our new technology for care businesses, we also have a back-end web platform as well. But our consumer app is an app because parents are always on the go. Caregivers are always on the go. So we wanted them to be able to quickly pull up an app, press a button, and get a babysitter they trust to their door.
And more companies are just going app-based, which the development cost of maintaining 2 platforms, let alone 3 platforms, is probably substantial. So it'll be interesting to see how the industry shifts over time, whether it's mobile first and then ported over, or where it's just kind of, I don't think there's an Uber.com website, is there? I've never used it, and I wouldn't even think to use it because some products are just intuitively in your hand versus on your desk or, wherever your computer is. So, Kristen, I know you guys went through Techstars. Can you tell me a little bit about the program and your experience with it and kind of what you got out of it?
Yeah, we went through Techstars Boulder last year, and it was phenomenal. It was better than I expected, actually, but it wasn't for what we expected to get out of it. We loved Techstars because it taught us how to work better, how to be more efficient. They have a founders first philosophy that I didn't know about until we went through it. And it really dives into making you a better leader, because most startups, most companies fail because of people issues. So if you can really work on leadership and style of work, then you'll be much better off for it. They provided an incredible network that we tap into every week still, because the support doesn't just end when the program ends. You can take advantage of it for as long as you're an entrepreneur.
How long is the overall Techstars program?
So the Techstars program is 3 months, and it's an intense 3 months, I won't lie. But you'll learn a lot, and you get a lot done in 3 months.
So a lot of it is based off of mentorship of previous founders of companies. Do you get to select your mentor, or are you matched up with them? Do they select you? How does that work?
It's a little bit like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, if you watch that. I was not expecting that. So, yeah, at the beginning of Techstars, you go through what they call mentor madness, where you meet, it's kind of like speed dating. You meet with, 80 different mentors, just about 10 minutes at a time. And it's great because you immediately get to see whether you have a connection with that person. And then afterwards, you say whether you want to meet with them again, and they do the same for you as a company. They say whether they would want to meet you again, and then so it's kind of like you're giving them a rose. And then the next round comes around, and you meet with them for a little bit more, a little bit longer period of time, but still pretty short. I think it was 20 minutes or a half hour. And then you select 3 to 5 mentors that you want to be your lead, and then you meet with them on a weekly basis throughout the program. But they can help you throughout the time. And it was amazing. In fact, 2 of our mentors that we had in Techstars are now our board of directors, and they give you every advice on anything that you need, from product to business operations to connecting you with financing, or to just founder support, because it's a really hard job, and they've all been through it.
So are those mentors, are they local? Because I know Techstars is international at this point in time, right?
Yep, some of them were local and some of them were not, and they flew in for Mentor Madness. The mentors, they don't get paid for it or anything. They like to give back to the community, and they give a lot of time and effort and a lot of great advice.
That's really cool that there's a program here to being only 3 months. It's not like you've got a year-long commitment to going through the entire program. It's, as you said, it's an intense 3 months, but you're kind of time boxed into those 90 days where at the end of the period you'll be out of that. You're not going to type yourself in additional resources going through the program.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people, we were hesitant to do Techstars. At first were like, no way, we're not going to do that. We're just focusing on our business. And we went into Techstars. There's a misconception that Techstars is for just like early stage. I got an idea on a napkin and they're going to help me get it started. But we went into Techstars with revenue, with customers, with data, with the product built. And so we were much further along. But even at our stage, we found it extremely helpful just for the mentors' advice and support and the connections as well.
So give me your perspective on being a female entrepreneur. What are some of the challenges that you've run into that you didn't expect to face, or something that maybe you thought that you would face but just was not an issue?
Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of us. I didn't realize how few female entrepreneurs there are out there until I actually did it. I come from corporate background for, most of my experience until Sitter was all major corporations. And so this is my first, foray into entrepreneurship and the startup scene. And there aren't many females out there, and the ones that are out there, we're a very close-knit community. We pretty much all know of each other or have met each other, and it's an incredible support network that you can access as a female entrepreneur. I believe that, and the studies show that females actually provide higher returns, better profit margins, et cetera. But, it's challenging not just because, there aren't that many of us, but because there are misconceptions out there about how we are as leaders. And there's a constant, a constant battle that's real between, especially, a parent, a mom, and being a CEO of a company that is real, and you get through it. But it's been even with the challenges, it's been an amazing experience.
So what would you tell yourself 10 years ago, knowing that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? And if you could go back in time, tell yourself stories about where you are now and the challenges that you faced and obstacles you've overcome, what would that story be?
That is a fabulous question. I often get like, if you know what, how hard this was going to be, would you still do it? And the answer would be wholeheartedly yes. I would go back and tell myself 10 years ago that it is going to be excruciating. It is going to be extremely painful. It is going to be a roller coaster. You are going to have the highest highs and the deepest lows, sometimes within a matter of minutes of each other. It will be a constant struggle, but you will learn more and experience more in however long you're putting towards it than you will in your entire career, which is complete and honesty. And it has been an experience I would never trade, and if I hadn't done it, I would have always regretted it. But I think I would have told myself that it is really, really, really hard. And you'll have to figure out how to balance life and being a mom and being a CEO. But it is possible to do both, as long as you clearly know what kind of mom you want to be and what kind of business you want to run.
It's really good advice. So many people say, of course I would do it, and not be able to reflect to the degree that you did with the struggles that you would overcome. So I think that's inspiring for a lot of future female entrepreneurs, because you do have societal expectations that aren't placed upon men. Men are traditionally, you go to work and you come home, and people don't judge you to the degree that they do women. Whereas, as a mom, where you go to work as a mom, right? And where, people are always wondering, okay, is she really working from home right now? Or whereas men, there's no question about it, right? So there's definitely a stigma.
Yeah, and I would caveat that with, it's not just societal expectations, it's your own expectations. Like, I have my own views and my own expectations of what it meant to be a good mom. Like when my son was born, my first son, I was a business strategy consultant, and I was traveling, 90% of the time, and I was working 90-hour work weeks, and I had a sales meeting right up to the point where I was in the hospital, and after he was born, I had the realization, wait a minute, because I fully expected to go back to that job. I loved that job with a passion. But when I was on maternity leave, I had the thought, wait a minute, I don't want to be the kind of mom that I would end up being if I stayed in that job. I want to be a mom that's, has a strong relationship with her kids, and that's able to go to the school plays and the soccer practices. And it's not my personality to be the mom that's home all the time, that's a stay-at-home mom. I know for myself that I needed to work and continue that, but it didn't mean that I should be, that I wanted to be gone all the time and working all the time. I wanted that balance. And so it's not just society's expectations of what it is to be a mom or a female in the workplace, but it's your own expectations as well. And as long as you're clear on that and you prioritize those things that are important to you and the kind of mom that you want to be, and the kind of, leader you want to be, or the kind of, work you want to do, then you just have to figure out a way that you can do both, and then forget about the other people who may question whether you're working when you're at home and your kid is sick or not, because you are, and you know it. You're working while they're taking a nap and they're, on their Tylenol. You're working and you're getting it done, and that's what matters.
Suddenly the concern of how am I going to care for my sick child has been replaced with, I can pull out Sitter, I can find the babysitter, I can book the babysitter and know that my child is taken care of and allow me to continue with my professional day.
Yeah, it gives you the peace of mind. And even if you decide like, wow, my kid's got, like 104-degree fever, I want to be here with my child today and help him through this versus my kid at 100-degree fever and they send him home from school but nothing else is wrong so I can go to work. Either way, at least you know that you have Sitter there to get a sitter that you trust when you need one. So yeah, it has, and that's what really empowers me to keep up with the business and growing it, and is the customers that email us that give us those stories, about how it's helped them feel empowered and to have peace of mind.
I'm sure that's incredibly encouraging and rewarding as well, knowing that you're making a positive difference in something that somebody cares about so deeply that you've been able to give them peace of mind, which is priceless. So what does the future of Sitter look like? What are your expansion plans and where do you see yourself in like the next 18 months?
So we right now are really focusing on solving this problem for the care industry as a whole. So these business owners of these care businesses, most of them, 98% of them, are women business owners who have been building their business for decades, and they're experts in finding the best caregivers in the industry, but they haven't had the technology to support it, and they're running themselves ragged, trying to help all these other families and find the best caregivers. So our focus over the next 18 months is to grow our company to help these care businesses run their businesses more efficiently and provide more access to families all over the country, access to these vetted professional, caregivers who are the best in the industry. So that's really what we're focused on now.
How are you building those relationships? Like, are you at the national scale yet? It's a lot of territory to cover.
Yeah, so Sitter has been nationwide since day one because it allows you to book your babysitters so you can use it wherever you are because you're using it just with the people that you know. From a business, a B2B perspective and a care business perspective, that's also nationwide because it's a close-knit community as well, and we're working with some of the top agencies in the country already to make sure that the product that we're building not only fits their needs as business owners, but also fits the needs of their clients and caregivers. So, we're already working with agencies in St. Louis and New York and LA and Atlanta and Miami and San Francisco and all over the map.
I hadn't thought about using Sitter when you travel.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic because now you can use the same app to find professional caregivers wherever you are. So we had, for instance, a client from an agency in St. Louis traveled to Colorado Springs, where we work with the Broadmoor nannies that supplies babysitters for Broadmoor guests, and they were able to use the same app in both locations when they're traveling or at home.
That's really cool. Yeah, because how do you get a night out when you're on vacation, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like you're in this amazing locale somewhere and you just want to go out for a date night with your husband in a nice restaurant and not have to worry about, the kids spilling ketchup on the white tablecloth. So it's just want a few hours, but you still want somebody you can trust. And that's what these agencies provide, is that those amazing caregivers that have been vetted. And, these business owners, they're so passionate about what they do. They put their lives into making sure that, they find the best people because they care so much about the kids and the families. So you can, rest assured knowing that those caregivers are treating your child well.
All right, Kristen, it's been really great talking with you on Colorado TechCast today. Sitter is an application that I can see myself using a lot just because of the convenience of having peace of mind when I book care for my kids. I think you've addressed a giant gap in the market where there's services that find sitters, but not on a timely basis. There's sitters out there, but just being able to coordinate the time and the payment and all of the logistics that go into getting a sitter and going out for the night is extremely complex. And I think you've simplified it well in an application or in an app. How can people find the app on their phones and get started with Sitter?
Yeah, people can find Sitter in the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, and it's just called Sitter. Book and pay your babysitters.
I wish you guys the best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Colorado TechCast. Visit our website at coloradotechcast.com for episode show notes with links to all the great resources we've talked about in this episode. While you're there, click the subscribe button in iTunes so you'll never miss a new episode. I'm Trapper Little, and I'll talk to you again on the next episode of Colorado TechCast.